Hello internet, and today's video is going to be another book opinion. Those videos in which I tell you my opinion on a book. Today's book is going to be The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. This is a sci-fi book. The premise of the book is we live in a sort of space world. Like, humans live in space in different planets, and they're run by a monarchy, like a universal monarchy. And one time they tried to create these beings called Diabolics using like clone machines. They're very much like humans, but they are superior, where they're stronger, more agile, like they're the perfect bodyguards. And then their emotions are dampened down so that they only feel love towards one person who they are bonded with. So we follow a Diabolic named Nemesis, and she's one of the only Diabolics left because the Emperor decided to forego the program because he didn't like that so many people had one extreme weapon that was so loyal to them. So she's a secret Diabolic, and it turns out that the girl that she's bonded to is being called away to the Emperor's palace as sort of a punishment for some of the stupid things her father has done in opposing the Emperor. So the mother, to save her daughter, decides to send the Diabolic instead. This works. Like, I was really confused when I heard this whole premise, but all of this works because they live in a society where plastic surgery and altering your face and body and all of that is very, very prevalent. So they have like one or two features that they keep the same so that that person is recognizable, but you can change your whole appearance in every single aspect. So that's why it works that this Diabolic can go undercover and no one knows what this girl looks like, what the real daughter of the governor looks like, even though you would assume that they would. So now Nemesis is in the palace. She's dealing with the Emperor, a bunch of politics, a bunch of stuff going on here, and she's going to have to try to figure out her way to navigate through this without giving up that she's a Diabolic, one, and that she's not actually the governor's daughter, two, while also trying to survive. Like, she has to navigate through that, make sure she keeps her secrets, figure out everything to make sure she keeps going. I think this book is pretty decent. I know it is now like a duology or a series. I personally am going to take it as a standalone because while I enjoyed this book, I did have some gripes with it. I think overall, objectively, it's a very good sci-fi. It's very interesting when it takes on autonomy and whether or not Diabolics can be seen as sentient beings that deserve respect. It takes a very interesting way of showing that because it is the girl herself who doesn't see herself as somebody who deserves respect. Usually when we have like sort of AI clone type conversations, it's usually the AI clone that's the one who is set that they deserve a humanity, that they deserve respect for being sentient, and then it's everyone else like saying no, 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 you're not. But it's more natural here because she has been trained, and all her life she has been told this, she's been pre-programmed, and she's never really believed that her emotions are her own, but that they are something instilled with her, right? That she couldn't honestly love someone, that it's like ingrained in her and she must be programmed to, and that's the only way. And she's very like set on that she's not a full human being or a full sentient creature. She's a Diabolic, and that makes her lesser in some sense. So it was interesting to see that sort of conversation where the person themselves didn't believe themselves to deserve the same sort of respect as everyone else, and then there are other people in their lives that tell them, yes, you're deserving, you need to see this about yourself. I thought that was interesting. I'm not quite sure like my take on it, but I did find it a fascinating way to show that sort of conversation. However, the one main problem I had with this book was more of a personal issue. So this book really isn't action heavy. It does have a lot of action scenes, but it is a lot more about the corruption going on in the Empire and with the Emperor and sort of the back dealing. So it's not so much like physical combat as much as it is like mental combat, trying to figure out who's trying to get at you and all that sort of stuff. So it's more of that sort of, you know, high stakes, right? It has to do a lot more with politics and stuff. And I think like that leads into my problem. Well, I don't like, I like books that have political stuff in it and that have like government conspiracies and like the others are trying to rise and you have to deal with a bunch of secrets. I did not enjoy it in this book because Nemesis, who's the Diabolic we're following, was not built for that sort of conversation. She wasn't built to be manipulative and clever and witty. Not to say she's not smart, but she wasn't built for that sort of environment, to always be watching her back, to hold secrets, to know how to read people and that sort of thing. She was built to be like physical, the physical strength. Like she was built to be the bronze, not the brains. And she prefers it like that. She prefers to punch somebody to fix her problems. And that's how she handles it. And like, I don't fault her, but like trying to watch her slither around in this environment and try to figure it out was trying to watch like a baby around like grown adults. Like you're like, oh my gosh, you're not surviving this. Like, how are you doing this? Because you're so bad. And it just wasn't enjoyable for me. Like, I don't mind if like the main character we're following doesn't fully understand how to be as like clever and manipulative and all that sort of stuff, and isn't like Loki levels of how to get your way and make everybody else believe it's how they want to think. But I at least want a character who can adjust to that sort of environment, and it was very clear that Nemesis was not made for that environment. So I kept getting frustrated where she was forced in that environment, and she, like, it was uncomfortable for both her and for me who was watching, because I couldn't enjoy this like battle of the minds, because I was honestly thinking half the time, Nemesis, just punch the person in the face because you can do that, so do that. Play to your strengths. That's basically what I'm saying. And in this book, it was not playing to Nemesis' strengths, so I wasn't enjoying myself because it was constantly, oh, here are her weaknesses, and we're just gonna have a whole story where she has to deal with her weaknesses, and we don't really see her at her like strongest. And I think maybe the second book would be better. Maybe now thinking about, maybe I will read that second book, because I did like the relationship between her and like the prince. And we see him as a very, like, he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play mind games. He knows how to spot lies and figure that out. He knows how to do politics. And then him working with Nemesis, and Nemesis being the brawn of the plan and him being the brains of the plan, it really made like a really interesting team to watch together when they were conversing, when they were sharing, and when they were talking, and then when they were executing their plans. But otherwise, I just kept getting really irritated because Nemesis just wasn't built for the Emperor's like square. Like, she wasn't built to live in the palace. You get it? Like, she wasn't built to be in the court, to be involved with all of these high politicians. That is not what she was meant for. That is not her strong suit. Like, this girl does not get that. She was meant to be the warrior, soldier, sort of revolutionary person, the figurehead, the person who punches out. So I liked this book because I liked like the sci-fi concepts. I liked seeing these different worlds, seeing these different people, seeing how they reacted. I thought the politics were really interesting and great, but it was just lessened for me because I had to watch it through the eyes of a person who wasn't built for that world and didn't make enough steps to fully understand and acclimate. Like, it looked like she was stumbling around blind most of the time, and you're just sitting there thinking, girl, you gotta get it together. You got to figure this out. Like, I get it, you've never lived in this life, but you have to try to figure it out because you're not gonna survive. In this instance, punching people isn't gonna work, but like, the first thing she wants to do is like punch and kick people, which is fine and dandy, and I'd be up for it, but it's like, you're not in the right environment for that, so figure it out so that you can be. And she was just put in a situation where she couldn't handle it, and she couldn't handle it in the way that it needed to be dealt. She couldn't give tit for tat, right? She couldn't have that back and forth because she just wasn't the person made for those sorts of conversations. This is a book that I read. It was fairly enjoyable. I mean, I liked it enough to read it and keep it because it was pretty fun. I'm not quite sure about reading the next book in the series, and I don't know if like this is something I would want to continue with, simply because I like seeing my characters sort of adapt to their environment and sort of thrive and sort of succeed, right? But she didn't. She didn't at all. I think, okay, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you an example so that you fully understand what I like to see in my characters. So if you've read Six of Crows, if you read Crooked Kingdom, I made a video about sorting all of the 6 crows into their houses. And I'm going to end up amending one choice, and that is NJ. And she is the Wraith in the book. So I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she's the Wraith in the books, right? So she is a type of Gryffindor character, and people have convinced me she is really like a Gryffindor-ish character, brave, loyal, she is courageous, she's set in her beliefs, and she wants to do like the best that she can, right? She's very Gryffindorish, but I also believe she's more Slytherin, right? So I originally placed her in Slytherin because I really do think that she is a very cunning character, that she's like learned how to work and navigate the politics, these dark things, all these clever, witty things that you kind of have to focus on when you're being a Slytherin. When I was thinking about it more and listening to other people's opinions on it, I think she's very much a character that originally she was definitely full heart Gryffindor. That's where the hat would place her. But after having to go to Catterdam, learning from Cass, learning how to survive, she definitely became a more Slytherin character, where her actions are now more Slytherin, but her heart and her, like, a lot of her heart is very Gryffindor. She is like a Gryffindor turned Slytherin, in my opinion. And that's sort of what I like to see. Like, she still has that Gryffindor heart, but she's now become more Slytherin for the sake of survival. So when it came to this, I wanted to see that in Nemesis, where she was like this one sort of person who wanted to use her fist to fight because that's how she had been taught to be, this like brawn and like know how to get her way out of a situation through battle. But I also wanted to see her kind of transform and become more by adding in this politics to it, where she would have this capability to do politics. So I kind of wanted her to grow and learn how to deal with this new situation and adapt and play their game as well as have her own. But she never really did that to a point where I was satisfied with her efforts. I just kind of felt like she was stumbling along and she wasn't really understanding the political environment that was going on around her to fully participate in it in a way that she was fully understanding and getting what she needed out of it. Like, she fully understood, knew how to play the game, and was working the game to her own benefit. It never felt like that, so I was sort of disappointed for that. If you have read this book, comment down below and tell me whether or not you like it, because I'm just curious, like, what are your feelings? Was it a book you really, really loved? Or was it a book you were kind of okay about it? Or did you just not like it at all? Like, you weren't a fan. I want to know. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunny bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.